Space Channel 5 might not be a game many people know about or remember, but that's exactly why I want to give it the attention it deserves. Honestly, Space Channel 5's popularity is kind of inconsistent, if that makes sense. People only ever talk about it once in a blue moon, and a ton of people seem to like it, but it's still relatively obscure. Hey, it's LongplayArchive Games, aka MPG. This is one of my comfort games, and one I've played countless times. Rhythm games don't often get their flowers, and Space Channel 5 was a very unique entry in the genre. Hopefully this video will have people give it a try sometime if they haven't already. With that being said, let's get started. Space Channel 5 is a very unique rhythm game that was released in 1999 for the Sega Dreamcast and later the PS2. When Sega was still manufacturing hardware, they had many exclusive games released on their last major console, the Dreamcast. One of those games was Space Channel 5, a zany rhythm game that takes place in space. You play as Ulala, a junior reporter who's getting her first real report show by covering strange aliens referred to as Morolians that are zapping citizens with lasers and forcing them to dance. That's quite the mouthful. Your job is to get the scoop and save civilians, by dancing and shooting. The second game has a very similar premise, just with a different antagonist. The games are very special and are honestly one of the more unique games I've played, even to this day. So let's talk about why this game Older Than Me is so near and dear to my heart. Space Channel 5 is a game that's special for various reasons. Its gameplay is creative, it's original, the music is great, and it's stylish. Totally meant that. So with that out of the way, let's go down the line. Space Channel 5 requires the player to defeat Morolians and save citizens from an eternal dance party by accurately repeating commands back at them, increasing your show rating percentage. This percentage is necessary to progress the game, and though repeating commands sounds simple, not all is as it seems. The game is based around rhythm and has no on-screen cues, so it's necessary for you to remember the commands and rhythm. It's certainly harder than it looks, but very satisfying to eventually perfect. I should probably mention how the commands work, huh? The first method of attacking is to basically win a dance battle, repeating the moves the aliens give you in the exact same order. The second method is to shoot at aliens in the order they appear, but there's something tricky about this. Usually when you're shooting aliens, the game will throw you some humans in there that you need to save. Though the audio cue is the same, that being, the buttons you'll need to press to take down aliens and save people are different. It's not until the second game where the audio commands are changed. Throughout the games, you'll just be repeating moves back at enemies and doing your best to make sure you're as accurate as you can be. It's insanely important that you're super punctual since the game has what I like to call sets. A set is basically a turn the game will give you, where aliens or something else you're going against gives you the cues and you repeat them back. This happens a few times through each section of the game, but sets are not just for show, nor can you miss a single move. For example, if the move you need to repeat back is up left chew, and you repeat up right chew, there's no partial credit and that set has failed. This is what it looks like.
Left chew.
Totally embarrassing. Usually games try to soften the blow when you mess up. This can cause your overall rating to go down, which can be bad since you need to hit a minimum at the end of each chapter. Also, if you're put in a situation where you have hearts and there are no hostages to rescue, and you lose all of them for messing up sets, like during a boss for example, you'll get a game over. As I've said before, rhythm accuracy is just as important as memorizing sets. Space Channel 5 leaves very little room for errors, so if you're just a split second off, the set has failed. It took me a while to get used to how the game worked since moves don't appear on screen and you often have to use a little bit of brain power to memorize moves. Fairly complicated stuff for a rhythm game, right? I'd be lying if I said it wasn't some good tense fun though. I remember playing this game at 14 thinking it'd be a breeze, only to find out that it's not as easy as I thought and got my ass kicked. Games that look easy and end up being a pain in the ass are my absolute favorite. The game limits you quite a bit, sure, but I like the difficulty it hits you with almost right off the bat. Not only is the gameplay super unique, but it's also capable of making you focus more than you typically would for any other rhythm games, especially modern ones. Space Channel 5 is a creative, in-your-face experience and has an abundance of creativity that goes unnoticed for a hard but fair game. Space Channel 5 may be hard at first, but it's also a unique experience between the two games and the other creations it has. The first and second game are very similar, but in an earlier point I made, I mentioned how they had a few differences. The first game is a lot more anal about rhythm and timing, and while the second one is as well, it gives you just a little more wiggle room. The first game feels extremely simple, which I don't mind, and the second game feels way more ambitious. It gives you a lot more creative freedom and isn't just a one-by-one sequel to the first game. Of course, the premise is the same. Blast enemies, dance to save hostages, and meet a colorful cast of characters, but there's just something that feels more alive about it. You get to have guitar battles, play the drums, perform with and as Michael Jackson. It doesn't get much better than that. I've played both Space Channel 5 titles about 50 times and it never gets old. The first game even has a neat little Game Boy Advance port, which is very surprising, but it's very, very fun. There's also a VR game available, but I'm broke, so that's unfortunately gonna have to wait. I'm coming for you though. If they're that different game to game, you can only imagine how different they are from other titles. It's different from every other Sega game, even a fellow rhythm game like Samba de Amigo is a far cry from Space Shuttle 5. It makes me happy to be playing it, knowing I'll never play anything like it ever again. That feeling is rare, and I'm gonna hold on to it. Space Shuttle 5 is a rhythm game, so it's gotta have some bangin' ass music, right? That's not even the tip of the iceberg. I don't know why Sega goes so hard on their soundtracks or how they get the composers to do it, but they typically don't miss. This is hardly a complaint though. The music for Space Shuttle 5 always hits no matter the circumstances, and always fits whatever super crazy situation you're in. Nothing feels out of place or lackluster, even the quieter or more serious beats are something you can move to. And they fit perfectly with the rhythm game, so bonus points for that. Speaking of other Sega titles, each older Sega title I've played, especially ones from the late 90s and early 2000s, have oozed style. Whether it be fashion, music, or just overall vibes, each game manages to stick the landing on how iconic they are. They don't have to try too hard to be cool, it's a guarantee. For example, Ulala's outfits are out of this world. Usually, main characters aren't given too much variety regarding clothing, but Ulala gets so many fire-ass fits. Kinda makes me wonder just how lax the dress code is at her job, but Serving Looks never takes a day off, I guess. The character designs in the games are so unique and diverse, I truly do feel like I'm looking into the future. Each character, no matter how insignificant, is noticeable and memorable in one way or another. Someone could show me a random-ass background character from the games and I'd probably know where they're from. Even the bosses seem to have a ton of style. The feats Ulala pays off may not be the flashiest or the coolest, but they're still either pretty impressive or really funny. Also, completely unrelated. Kinda. Is it just me, or have Sega games always praised anarchy? I mean, beating up cops, avoiding police arrests, and jumping out of government planes just seems a little on the nose, don't you think? Anyway, Space Shuttle 5 is so special to me as a game. Everything about it is fun, shameless, and so itself, if that makes sense. It's hard to find games so unashamed, a game that wraps you up in its insane world and has you artificially become a part of it. Might be digging too deep there, but as it stands, Space Shuttle 5 deserves the world. I really wish more people knew about this game. Sure, it's a bit frustrating at first, but it's super fun and unlike anything else. Like I've always said, Ulala walked so Bayonetta could run. Space Shuttle 5 deserves recognition, it deserves love, it deserves praise, it occasionally gets it, but occasionally doesn't cut it. It needs way more than that, but I'm content with the experiences I've gotten out of it so far. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. This is NPG, it's been nice seeing you. Peace!